And we are live. John, good to see you. John Theodore. How are you doing, buddy?
Good to see you too, man. Doing well. Staying secluded.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know about yourself, but for me, the whole quarantine thing hasn't been much different than what I've been doing for the last 5 years of my life. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, definitely for, someone who grew up playing video games and as an only child, I guess I probably have an easier time adapting to it than others do, but I do still miss getting out and going to social gatherings, going out and listening to music around the city and stuff like that. And so, it's
yeah.
it's an adjustment, but
No, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just more of, for me, it's the kind of, I don't know if it would be called reverse psychology, but it's like knowing that you can't do it makes you want to do it more than knowing you can do it and then just choosing not to. It's harder to stay inside when you know you can't go out than staying inside when you could, just because it's like, don't press the big red button. It's like it makes you
yeah,
want to
definitely.
press it. So it's better not to
Absolutely.
say anything about the big red button because then they won't press it. So I guess maybe a quick little introduction about yourself for those who might not know exactly who you are.
Sure. So, what? Grew up in St. Louis, USC grad. As far as how we know each other and everything, I've been a racing fan since I was like 3 years old. I grew up watching NASCAR and stuff like that, and played the original NASCAR racing game by Papyrus on PC. Played NASCAR 2. Actually played the Bill Elliott Racing Konami game before that. And then kind of fell. Never did that stuff online though. Kind of fell out of it for a little while, focusing on other things. And when I was living in Los Angeles in those apartments, I didn't really have the disposable income to get a big sim racing rig, gaming PC, and stuff like that. So I would play other stuff or play a little bit of Forza on my Xbox and stuff. And then actually got a trial subscription to iRacing as part of a package that X got me for my birthday at the time, which was a 10 like a racing school deal at Irwindale,
Irwindale.
out in LA. Yeah,
That's
so I
awesome.
got to drive a late model around Irwindale. I think it was like 10 laps or
Wow.
something like that. That was
10
really fun.
laps.
Yeah.
Really?
hmm
That is impressive. I thought it would
So
just
that
be a
was cool.
lap and go around, but nice.
No, yeah, they give you a decent amount of time, and there are other cars out there, so they'll a lot. The way they orchestrate overtaking is they tell the car that you're closing in on when you're like 5 seconds back of them, like pull down to the inside and just let them go by. So like you're
Yeah, they
never
don't trust
close,
you like
but
that
there's
much.
there is actual overtaking that
Yeah, it makes you
happens.
feel good.
Um,
It feels like you're flying around.
for sure. So I got myself a G27, which was at the time, like way better than any wheel that I'd ever owned, and set that up with this same old play seat here that I had gotten back in '09, I think, and just started actually, just working my way through rookie street stocks and stuff on iRacing. Um, did that for a little. I think I actually did do a couple streams back then, just like trying it out, but didn't actually do anything with it. And then when I moved back to St. Louis and I got my own house, I started kind of setting things up to do the stream kind of regularly, really just because I was having fun with the way that the iRacing career progression works and kind of like climbing the ladder of
Yeah,
iRating and
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
So I sort of wanted to document it for, you know, when I couldn't do it anymore, when I was looking back and stuff like that. I thought it'd be fun to have videos up there. So I figured if I was going to record the videos, I may as well also stream it live on Twitch.
Yeah.
So got that set up. And then, I was streaming for like the first 3 months. I had 3 viewers.
The whole time.
And, yeah, it was me, my buddy Mike, and, like random folks would pop in here and there every once in a while, but never had much of an audience until I watched it's twitch.tv/hey shady lady. On her YouTube channel, she had a really good tutorial about how to talk to yourself on stream. It was about gaining an audience. So I started looking for advice on like how do you build an audience, and her video really resonated, internalized the importance of talking, so that when people pop into your stream, there's something for them to engage with, and so that they stick around. And I just did that, and that was how I grew the audience that I have, was really just through having something that when people were browsing around on Twitch and looking for something new to watch, they'd come in with me, and instead of just sitting there silently driving, I was talking and talking about what I was going on and stuff like that. And so I've been doing the Twitch channel for about what 2.5, 3 years now, I guess.
Hmm.
I always have trouble tracking where it started, but yeah. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
never expected it to be anything, and it's grown up into a fun hobby that brings in a little bit, and I have fun with. It's fun to hang out with folks.
definitely, and I think that that's the way to the correct mindset when it comes to starting a Twitch channel is to not to do it because you just enjoy it and not because you want to get big, if that makes sense. I think that to have that core of just enjoying it no matter what, no matter how many viewers, no matter what that is, I think that's the most important thing. And then I think eventually then it just will grow naturally because people can see you truly enjoy what you do. I think that that's very important. That's cool. That's cool. And I think we met um was it the Daytona 24? Was that the first time we kind of met?
That was, yeah, it was the
Uh,
Daytona
oh my
24.
gosh, that's crazy. It seems like
That was so funny.
that's crazy. That was over a year ago, I think. That was 20,
Yeah,
was
that
that
was last year's.
2018's?
No, that was last
Last year,
year's. 'Cause
2019.
I didn't
Oh
run it
yeah.
this year, but yeah,
Yep.
last year was the first year that I ran it. And yeah, how exactly did that happen? So we were wrecked already. We were wrecked before I got into the car. When one of my teammates got taken out or got involved in a couple situations, so we were already pretty well wrecked. So I'm just riding around, and I close like, and I had already had the pit limiter incident. So I
Explain
was
that.
talking. Okay,
Explain that. Let's
so
get a backstory.
yeah. So the backstory is that I do oval racing, and I never have a pit limiter set because I only do NASCAR stuff. Those are rudimentary cars. They still have an actual stick shift in them. There's no pit limiter. In the actual cars, you can't even see the speed limit. They don't have a speedometer. They
Oh
gauge pit
yeah.
road speed based on the tachometer.
Oh.
So I'm just I'm just used to gauging pit road speed manually. So I never set one. So when Will hands the car off to me, um, he had the pit limit, and this was also because I've never used it. Didn't have any understanding about how it was set. I thought it was a button that you press and hold, and then you release it when you want to go
When do
off
you
pit
want to
road. I
go?
didn't
Yeah.
realize that it was a toggle.
Oh.
So he, of course, because that's what you do, sets it going onto pit road, hands the car off to me. I get in the car, and the pit limiter is still on. And because I haven't set a button and have never looked up how to turn, I have no idea how to turn it off.
Oh my gosh. Yo.
So I'm out there going back on track, and I'm like, we're already so far down. I'm like, all right, fine. We're just gonna do one lap. Like I've got like I asked in chat, like, hey, can anyone in chat let me know like what is it by default? Because whatever it is by default is what it is still, because I haven't changed it.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm driving around. I'm like, all right, fine. We're just gonna pull in, and I'll go in and I'll set something to it, and then we'll get it going, and I'll pull back out. We'll lose a little bit of time, whatever. And then right before I get back to the pits, uh, one of my viewers, um, tells me what it is. Which is the A key, by the way, for
Why?
anyone
I wonder
watching.
why
It's
A.
the A. Shit, who knows? That was the one of the keys that was free after they mapped everything else.
Yeah,
But yeah,
afterthought.
the A key is the pit limiter, so I hit that, and off we went.
Yeah, off you went right before you came into the pits too. That's good. Yeah, so if you're
Right.
listening right now and you just so happen to be driving around a track trying to disable the pit limiter, it's A. So press
It
that
is
and
the
get
A
under your
key.
way.
Yeah. If you haven't changed it, if you've changed it, it's something else, but
Yeah,
you
you're
probably
you're
know what it is then.
absolutely. So I
But
bet
yeah.
you did you
So
bind it?
like, no, it's still the A key for me. I have not bound it because I
Yeah, that's true.
still
You
don't
never
race
need
those
it.
things.
Yeah,
I
there's
need
really
that
no point.
for uh and so what I was doing was about an hour later or whatever, later on in my stint, I was walking through and talking through the whole incident with folks who had just tuned in and had seen the clip but didn't know what had happened. So I'm going through, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've got all kinds of stuff bound on here. I got this button for this. I can cycle through my black boxes. I can flash my lights. I can push this and flash my lights. That's super useful. And then you happen to be the guy in front of me when I hit the button to flash my lights, just talking about it, and you let up and let me by. I was like, wait, no, I didn't. That was really nice. That guy Jack, he's a really nice guy. I'm gonna flash him again to thank him, and you flashed him back, and then he just started this whole thing where I was like, all right, it's Jack. Let's see if he does it. And I push it, and I wait, and I wait. He did it!
Yeah, yeah, it was so cool. Like I just
And it was
remember
the middle.
it
It
was
was
like
like 2 in the
graveyard shift.
morning.
Yeah, we were probably
Yeah.
both just like
We're
nothing
just
going
so
on, man.
tired, so bored, just, like, casually,
Yeah.
leisurely. We're both 30, 40 laps down because we both had issues. And
Oh
so
my
it's
gosh,
like
man. You're just so
keeping each
bored.
other
Like
awake.
exactly. Like it's just like a friendly reminder to stay awake. I remember that because I
Mhm.
remember my team was getting mad at me because I was driving so safe that I would just let anybody by no matter what, even if they were a lap down, if they were going through the oval, if they wanted to get by, they did. So when you flash your lights, even though you were I think a lap down, I let
Yeah.
off because I'm like, I'm not racing you anyways. Just go in front of me. And so and obviously I wasn't watching your stream. I had no idea that
No.
you were just doing it just to show the stream. I thought you were
Yeah,
like,
I totally
you
didn't
know,
expect you to let up.
yeah, and I didn't know you at the time, so like I didn't know like you're an oval streamer, maybe just something with the stream or something. I just
Mhm.
you flashed your lights. I was like, okay, this guy wants to get by, like. Let off. You went by. You flashed your lights again. So I was gonna do like a "you're welcome." So it was like, you flash again. It's like, thank you. I flash again. You're welcome. And then you flashed again. So I was like, oh man, here we go. So I
Yeah,
just,
it's on.
yeah, it's on now. So now my goal is just to like stay basically as close as I can to you. Just like flash whatever you flash back, and just keep doing it
Yep.
over and over again. And
Yeah, because I
oh,
think I even encountered you like an hour later or something like that. And I was
oh
like,
yeah.
let's see if he remembers. And I did it, and he
I
did
did
it back. I'm like,
it,
I did
yes. I mean, there's nothing more to remember if you're
No,
driving 2
yeah.
a.m. Like, I'm not gonna forget that. I mean,
I don't.
it's crazy.
If I remember, I think we both ended up finishing in the top 10 because there's so much attrition over that.
Oh
So many
yeah,
teams dropped out. We ended up actually with decent finishes,
yeah,
all
yeah.
things considered, in that like super low split that
That
we
was
were
a
running in.
meme. Yeah, I remember we got I think
But
P6 and you got you got top 10
seven,
definitely.
I think we got
Seven.
7 or 8. Yeah,
Yeah, we were
something
very
like that. I don't
similar.
remember. I have no idea what it was actually exactly, but yeah, we
Oh
ended
my
up
word.
feeling pretty good. But yeah, that was the thing, is like those two incidents that's two of the things that are some of the most memorable moments from my entire time that I've been streaming iRacing as an
Same.
oval streamer. Most memorable stuff was doing that 24, the pit loader incident, and then the flashing lights thing with you. That was, yeah, that's some of my most memorable stuff from sim racing.
It was so cool, and I remember I remember watching back your stream. And then,
Mhm.
oh, what was it? You're like, is he gonna flash back? He flashed back! Like, yeah, super happy. And then
Yep.
you went on the voice comms and you're like, I just want to let you know you are the hero of the stream. I remember,
Yes.
I remember you
Yep.
saying something like that, like you are the hero of the stream right now. And then,
Absolutely.
oh, you were saying my name. You're like, who was that, Jack? And you said Jack Anderson. I remember.
Yes. Mr. Anderson. Yeah, I got it totally wrong.
And then like I think it was it Corey? Or
Corey or Will. Corey and Will were
I
my
don't
two
know. They're like, it's
teammates that were on
actually
there.
Andirect. Like, correct it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Andirect. Yeah. I'm like, it was just so much fun. Like, that race is just so many memories can be made in endurance races because, for half the time, it's like you have to make stuff enjoyable. You got to find something
Mm-hmm.
to keep your mind off of just driving around, Daytona for 2 hours straight at 3 in the morning. It's just,
Right.
you got to find your own fun. And that,
Yeah.
that was really great.
That's where having that pacing and that habit of just kind of giving voice to your inner monologue helps because you just go total stream of consciousness and
Oh,
just that
yeah.
keeps you awake. It keeps Chad engaged. It
Yep.
makes it fun.
It's incredible how when racing you can get so, I guess, I don't know what the word is, like concentrated or so like focused on driving that you can kind of forget that you're driving and still be able to
Mm-hmm.
do it. It's like autopilot, almost like
Yeah.
road you know what I'm talking
Highway
about?
hypnosis.
Highway
Yes.
hypnosis. Yep. Stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it's really cool how our minds work like that. But
The important thing on that though is to still remember what corner you're going into,
oh, that can
and
get bad.
not go into turn 3 at Darlington thinking it's turn 1 and you can go in there full throttle.
Oh no, that's one way to hit the wall.
Yep, I
Wash it
may
hard
have
with the wall.
may have thrown away a league race that I probably could have won there last year.
Really?
Doing
Oh
exactly, yep.
man. Darlington, yeah, I'm sure that's why those tracks like that, like Darlington, even I didn't know this until recently, but I did not know Bristol was kind of like that too. Isn't one of Bristol's corners?
Bristol is a little bit egg-shaped, and I didn't know that for a long time either. Like, because you watch it and you think that it's basically a traditional
Yeah.
oval, but no, Bristol actually is. Yeah, I think it's 3 and 4, or a little 3 and 4 is the one where it's a wider radius than 1 and 2
Yeah,
is.
I had no idea. But I can definitely tell now driving on it. You can kind of
Mm-hmm.
tell once the tires start to
Yeah,
go.
and that's the thing is like watching Darlington, you can tell from watching on TV that the two corners are
Oh yeah.
different because it's but yeah, and they always talk about it. At Bristol, they don't really talk about it that much. It doesn't you don't really notice it watching it on TV. But yeah, after driving it for a while and getting used to it, you're like, wait a minute, yeah,
Something's a
I
little
kind of
weird
have to
here.
pull a different approach going through 3 and 4 than I did in 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's yeah, I didn't know that. I think the reason I noticed was um when I was at Bristol, like in iRacing, it has a little track map in the top right where you
Mm-hmm.
quit. And I just looked at it and I'm like, is it just me or does it not look even? So I
Yeah,
looked up an official track map on Google and I was like, this it's not even. It's you know, three
yeah,
and four
and
I
it's not
think's wider, so
a little bit, yeah. And again, it's not as pronounced at Darlington. The banking's
oh,
very
it's
different, and
huge.
it's really very different
Arlington is
radius.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know, are
all
there
because
any
it's all because of that minnow pond.
Oh yeah, that's right. What was the story behind that? It was like the owner or
So
something.
no, there was the they wanted to build the racetrack, and the guy who owned the minnow pond said, "You can build your racetrack anywhere you want, but you're not going through my minnow pond."
Really?
So they had to make it narrower at one end so that they didn't interfere with his property.
Wow. Well, that's is the pond still there today?
That I don't know. Probably not.
Uh,
But at this point, the track's established. So
I mean, at this point, yeah,
yeah.
like that'd be cool if it was still there though. I don't know about the guy who's there if he's there anymore, but
No, I
uh,
think it was I think it was an older dude at the time.
yeah. So
I don't know too much about the details on that, so I don't want to get
oh,
something wrong. But yeah, it yeah, I don't know if the minnow pond is there anymore. I don't know how many more years the minnow pond would have even stuck around. But yeah, the once it was in place, the track was built. It
yeah.
was set as it was.
Well, it made a hell of a racetrack. That's for
It
sure.
did.
I mean,
Historic.
definitely. I think are there the only tracks I can think of that are kind of like that are on the NASCAR calendar is like Arlington, Bristol, Phoenix,
Gate
and
Gateway's on still on the trucks, so Gateway is a
oh
similar
yeah,
shape, which is
Gateway's
cool.
fun.
And Gateway, as far as I know, there wasn't any similar kind of thing. They just deliberately built Gateway on with trying to make something that had similar characteristics to what worked with Darlington, and they even went more extreme with it. Like 3 and 4 at Gateway is really flat. It almost feels like Milwaukee or something like that. And then 1 and 2's pretty high
It's
banked.
Yeah, I really like Gateway. I didn't really know. I drove IndyCar there once for a league, and man, it's fun. Yeah, 3 and 4 are completely flat. 1 and 2, yeah, you have to definitely like trail brake through there and brake and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah, and
really cool.
that's one of the tracks in the NASCAR cars that you always have to shift at for 1 and 2 at the very least. 3
Really?
and 4 is, but yeah, 1 and 2 you've always got to shift there.
Wow. I didn't know that. I never shift in the NASCARs really, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess Gateway is one of those. I don't know. Are there any other tracks on the?
Gateway, Loudon. It's not uncommon that you have to shift at Loudon. Martinsville, depending on the car, sometimes shifting can be a little bit quicker. Phoenix, um, shift in 1 and 2 for sure. Depending, again, it's dependent. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, or sometimes you can. Sometimes it all comes down to driving style. So like Phoenix, I drive it without shifting
Hmm.
usually at this point, unless the way that they've got it geared really requires you to. But I'll come across other folks who are shifting when I'm not, but will be able to put up similar lap times.
So it's like a preference
So,
thing.
but it's the point where like I've run in leagues where they actually outlaw shifting. They make it a rule that drivers can't shift to try to make it equal,
Wow.
but they pull that rule back only at Gateway, because Gateway you bog down so much in 1 and 2.
Like you have to
Uh,
shift.
you have to like, yeah, you'll get bogged down to like 4,000 RPM or 4,500 or something like that. You have you could like technically drive without it, but it would
You caught lose
bog
so
you
much
down
time.
all the way down the back straight, and it would make it makes the race kind of boring,
Yeah.
because you end up just not pulling enough torque off of the corners to really be able to pass effectively.
Mhm. Yeah. No, that's cool. I wonder how does the league even manage or monitor people to make sure they're not shifting? Is it? I mean, I'm sure it's just kind
They
of one of those rules that they say, but
Nope, they go into they'll have race control go in and listen to people. It's one of those things that you've got to have one of those race control guys who is actually willing to go in and watch it. And
it wouldn't
it's
be
not,
me.
if I that wouldn't be me. I would never put in a rule like that on a rule league that I ran. But the whole idea with that was to make things even for guys who were running on really budget equipment and didn't have a good shifter, that they
That
would
makes
still be
sense.
able to be competitive with folks with more expensive stuff.
Except that gateway. Gateway. If you
Right.
if you can't shift that gateway, you're screwed.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like I think that the guys who didn't have as good equipment, they were still able to shift. They were just not as quick with the changes as people who had better equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, I've always been somebody as well. I mean, I guess when it comes to the roadside with gearing, I've transitioned. I used to be someone who would always kind of prefer lower gears. If there was a
Hmm.
kind of either, choosing which gear to take, I would always take lower. But I've really transitioned into being much more of a staying in a high gear, like rolling through corners.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. I feel like the momentum. It's easier to keep momentum and just much more smooth and whatnot
Hmm.
that way as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, it gives you a wider range of control. The more that you're when driving properly, the more that you're in between being fully off the gas and fully on it,
Mm.
that's where you're using your ability and your skill that you've gained to differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition. Everyone's doing the same thing when they're flat out or when they're fully off. It's what you can how you can use that in between space that really separates you.
I
So,
never thought
as
of it that way, but that is so true.
mhm.
That's so true. Yeah, like, and same with the braking. I've noticed a lot of people. I guess I don't know if it's as much in oval. It definitely is an oval with trail braking and whatnot, but you definitely the people who can really work the brakes, be smooth with the brakes, let off the brakes at the right time. Be smooth on the gas. The people
Yeah.
who can really coordinate the brake and gas are the people who I think are always going to be the quickest because it's just they can be so effective.
For sure. Yeah, with oval, it's really important to be smooth, and especially now with the way that the new tire model works, where it really punishes you if you abuse the tires early in the run. It's really, really important to be smooth because smoothness is going to determine both being fast but early in the run, but also taking care of your stuff so that you're good 20, 30 laps into a run too. The guys who are really manic about things and really abusing the car might be fast for 5 or 10 laps, but you'll see them drop like a rock once those tires get some laps on them.
That's
They'll
my
just
issue.
kill their right front.
That's my issue because I remember I did a race Cannons. It was at Atlanta, and I got
Mm-hmm.
pole position. I felt like a rock star. Went into the race. I felt like a rock star. I was gaining like half a second a lap. It seemed on these guys, like 2 3 tenths a lap. Just feeling on top of the world. I'm like, this is easy. Like this split, like I should be in a higher split. Like give me the 5K. Like I got this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 10 laps, it's like it started to get even, and then it just went.
You're just doing this coming off
I
the
was
corner
I
every
was
time, right?
plowing. I was
Yeah.
plowing, man. Like I had my wheel fully turned and the car just like was getting close to the wall. I'm like, man, I needed to let off even more. Like and I was losing probably a second a lap. Everyone just caught up and I finished I think like 12th or 13th.
Yep. You
It's
just
like,
melted that right front.
yep. So I think just yeah, having the um the patience and just the consistency over raw pace is the way to win. And for
Yeah.
definitely ovals, you got to keep those tires good. So that's really cool. And what are your thoughts on the tire model? I know it's been out on oval for a little bit longer than it has with a lot of the big road cars, but what do you
Yeah,
think?
well, it came out on road first, I think. It was only on oval in the K&N car for a season, but we've had it for what, like 3 or 6 months or something like that. I I don't know. So the big thing that everyone on oval has been complaining about with the new tire model is that on oval cars, even if your tires are cold, your fastest lap should still be your first lap. It was bizarre to be in oval cars and going out and like your sixth, seventh lap, you were still getting faster than you were on fresh sticker tires.
Oh,
Which which at least based on my understanding is not realistic unless there's something different that teams do with air pressures and with setups that make it so that they're faster in qualifying on sticker tires, but for long runs that it actually has that kind of build and curve.
oh,
But it seemed like the way that everyone was putting it was that they felt like they had put a road tire on oval cars rather than building a new model that more accurately represents the way that oval cars work. I don't know enough about what the differences are between oval and road tires to be able to speak intelligently as to whether or not that's a really accurate way to describe it. But my understanding of it was basically that they've got more variables and more tools to play with and to tweak to make the tires work accurately, and they had tweaked some things for how it works on road course tires, which tend to be harder and firmer and have a thinner sidewall than the oval tires, which do tend to be softer and have more sidewall flex.
mhm,
um that it was just taken the effect that having the tire temps cold was really having more of an effect than it should have on the oval cars. They mitigated that some by effectively essentially giving oval cars that don't have them tire warmers so that they would just start out closer to operating temperature. So now it's depending on the track, your second lap is still always your faster than your warm up lap or your out lap,
mhm.
but that's actually relatively accurate for some of the 1.5 milers for at least the cup cars because they've got the engine so hampered now at the tapered spacer that you actually kind of like you do at Daytona and Talladega, you need to full lap to get the thing really wound up
Wound
before
up,
you can
yeah.
unleash it anyway. Um, But, I have noticed now it's like usually your second or third lap is your quickest, and then it does start falling off a little bit as the tires wear.
Hmm.
Um, Now, the other things where that I've observed is that, especially back when they first introduced the dynamic track on the old tire model on the oval cars, you would have an effect of over the course of a run that the groove would widen out and you would start getting some multi-groove racing and things like that as a run went on if you were fortunate enough to get in a race that had a longer run. That doesn't seem to be the case. With this tire model, it really seems like there is one line that's the correct line most places that you go to, and it doesn't matter how much rubber gets laid down, how hot the track gets in that groove, that groove still tends to be the way around the track, um, with this tire model. Uh, so I guess those would be the things that I would like to see them work on and improve. The things that I like about it is that I do feel like I have more pedal feel with this tire model than I did with the old ones, so that when the back end starts stepping out, I feel like I'm able to recognize it and catch it. It does feel more like tires underneath me, whereas before they just kind of felt a bit flat and mushy.
I
It's kind of like the
100%
difference.
agree.
Yeah, it's the difference between paper and rubber.
Yep.
Like before, it just felt like it didn't
It
feel like
felt
the
all the
tires were made of
same.
rubber.
It didn't
Yeah.
feel dynamic or anything. It just felt lifeless.
Right. So that's where I'm hoping that my hunch is correct, that they've made a model that's more accurate than like a tire, and that fixed the things that everyone's complaining about can be fixed by simply adjusting some of the variables and different things to get the response more back, because I do like that feels better. And I like that they have more fall off. I like that you're punished for abusing your tires early in the run, because that is how it works in real life. I like that managing your tires matters. I don't want managing your tires to be everything, but it should. Someone who's driving quickly and managing to take care of their stuff should have an advantage over someone who abuses it. Um, so I like that, especially when we can get a long run.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much
Your
it
take?
on. Yeah, that's my take on how I feel about the new
Oh,
tires.
that definitely. I agree with you from my experience with the oval tires. I know for sure when it first came out, which I believe was season 4, 2019 season 4, I think was when it came out on the like cup cars, like A, B, C class, I think. Or maybe it was 2020 season 1.
I think that might have been it. I think that season 4 they just put it on the K&N.
Cannons, okay. I don't remember for sure. Oh, yeah, I think you're
No,
right. No, I think it was season 1.
I think season 4. No, I don't remember
Because
anymore.
I know
Yeah,
season 1 starts in 2019. I always forget that. So like
yeah.
it was like the end of the year last year. I remember it was
I
added.
think that's what it was, and they put it on the Cup car. They put it on the trucks. They waited till NIS ended. They waited till Pete what was then the Peak Antifreeze series ended before they put it on
The A
the Cup
class.
cars.
Yep.
And so it was on the Canon, and then they delayed it on the B car until the Pro Series wrapped up, and then they put it on the B car after the Pro Series wrapped up.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people were complaining about the model at that point. A lot of people did said after like the tires wore off after just like 3 or 4 laps, it was dead. Like no matter how much you
Hmm.
push, stuff like that. That's a lot of the things that I heard. Um, and then within this last 2020 season 2, the latest like big overhaul update, there was the patch notes. They did tweak the tires, so I don't know. I don't drive nearly as much oil as you do. Were you able to, or I don't know how much rate how much did you drive on the like new tire model, but yet like not the updated new tire model, if that makes sense?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't have much insight really because that kind of overlaps with the period where I took my month and a half break from iRacing and streaming and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I don't have a well-formed opinion about, you know, what
Yeah.
the original one that they put on the oval cars versus what it is now
Hmm.
and how the updates affected things. Um, I guess the only thing that I can say is that it does seem like, your quickest lap is now in the lap 2 to 3 range as opposed to the lap 7 range, which is what
It's
it was
getting
doing.
better.
The other thing that I've noticed is that especially on some cars and at some tracks, there is a real twitchy wobble that can happen on the back straight
Hmm.
where it'll just feel really unsteady, and some of that setup and things like that. And I know that I've seen at Daytona that there are some setups that come out that are able to mitigate that, but I've really noticed it, especially like in the B car and B fixed, some of those tracks that either have long or bumpy straightaways. I remember at Daytona, it was really unstable in those drafts. Sometimes just going on the straightaway, folks would get wobbly on the straightaway. Um, Almost felt like you're balancing on a
Yeah,
knife with the
I
car.
think I
Like
know exactly what you're
it
talking
would kind
about.
of wobble and then you'd correct it and then it would just hook there are some wrecks
Yep.
that are caused by that.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like you could literally could spin out just by going straight because it would just would get
Hmm.
wobbly. You try to correct, and then it's just you can't correct.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
get
constantly
behind.
back and forth, back, and then you just are gone and take
Right.
out everybody behind you. Yeah, I've
So
experienced
I don't
that.
know what's causing that, honestly. Um,
Maybe it's just well. So I'm thinking because I don't drive the B cars much. I typically only drive either the trucks or the cup cars.
hmm.
Um, and I know that the cup cars have a lot more downforce, correct, than the B cars do.
They do, yeah. Which is that's why I like driving the B cars more
Yeah,
than
it's
the
more.
Cup cars.
Yeah, I totally get
I
that.
But the Cup cars, I really like long races more than anything else. I like a longer race that has some strategy play out. I'd rather
Yeah,
run one race for 2 hours than run three short races
yeah,
in a
I
stream.
get that. Yeah, but I'm just wondering maybe if it has to do with the downforce, maybe the engine, moving around in the car, the cylinders bouncing around or something, causing the car a little bit unstable. It doesn't have downforce, so it's not gripping as
Yeah,
well. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I probably
I do
sound
think I do think that the Cup cars are much more planted into the track than the B cars are, for sure. There is definitely something with the current Cup car, especially with that massive spoiler that they put on
oh,
there
it's
with the
ridiculous.
plexiglass that
It
looks
looks like
so
a Hot
stupid.
Wheels car or something.
It looks so dumb.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
I
and now they've said that the Gen 7 car, because everything we're going through right now is going to be delayed until 2022, so we got to suffer through this nonsense
oh,
for another year.
what they did with F1 too with their
Yep.
uh
Yeah, everything's just it's going to be like 2020 never happened.
yeah, that's just so
We-
crazy to me, man. Just like
2020, the
god.
year that wasn't.
Like did you ever feel with this whole corona thing that it's like it never seemed to me like it was that serious until it just became that serious?
Um I was getting the sense pretty early on that this was going to be a pretty serious thing. Just because I was watching. I try to keep pace with the news and current events and things like that. And some of the stuff where I was watching, where the doctors and the scientists that were analyzing this were talking about this, and the way that they were talking about the way that this thing spreads, particularly that you can be contagious but asymptomatic for 2 weeks, so you can be spreading it to other people and not even know that you have it for 2 weeks. I pretty well internalized in my head that like it's gonna come here, it's gonna spread when it gets here, it's gonna be however bad it's gonna get bad everywhere, just because it's so difficult to identify who you need to quarantine and quarantine them effectively. That's how they were able to stop the spread of a lot of the other things that people were, look back at and make fun of, is like, oh yeah, SARS, they made a big deal about that, and it ended up being nothing. H1N1, they made a big deal about that. Bird flu and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, those ended up not being a big thing because they were able to implement effective quarantine and containment measures and contain it before it got out of hand. This one, because you can be contagious and so contagious that you can just spread it by sharing air with someone. That's why they talk about the distance of 6 feet, is that you have to be, if you're within 6 feet of someone, you're actually inhaling air that the air that they're breathing out. So you're
So
sharing air with
gross.
them.
Sounds
It it
gross.
it sounds gross, but like
There's no way around it, really.
that it's I yeah, I mean, it sounds I don't know that we should really think of that as being gross, because that's just part of biology. That's how our
Yeah.
bodies work, and that's how air circulates and stuff like that. It sounds gross because we're just not used to thinking of things
Yeah,
in
I
that
don't think
way.
of that. Yeah.
Um, but because of that, it's going to spread very quickly. Fortunately, it's not as lethal as some of the other ones that were mentioned. I think bird flu they were talking about had like a 60% mortality rate or something like that, which isn't, if it would, this is going to be devastating in a lot of ways anyway, but it would be far more devastating if it had that higher mortality rate and more severity rate. But at the same time, it's obviously still very devastating, because I think, if the mortality rate varies based on how effectively we are in being able to get proper care to the people who need it, with more severe cases, but it bounces anywhere. 2% seems to be the one that's generally settled upon under normal circumstances, which is 20 times worse than the flu, which has a 0.1% mortality rate. So, the high level of communicability, both because of, you know, the way that it spreads, and that you can stay asymptomatic for, there I go touching my face when I shouldn't.
Yeah, I know,
Oh, but
right?
I'm
Here he
I'm
is.
I'm by myself in
Yeah,
the house, so like
you're
it's setting a bad
quarantined.
example for people.
Yeah.
But like, it that's why, you know I was kind of taking it a little bit more seriously, um than some other folks were at a little bit earlier time period. Um but you know I can sort of understand why people were thinking that this was just going to be another thing, because most of the time we've gotten so used to, in this society where we know so much about so many things. We've got really good medical doctors and scientists who work on this stuff. We're so used to them being able to just fix stuff for us without us before we have to worry about it, that we have gotten a little bit complacent with that. And you know we we should have been thinking about things in the reverse, which is, hey, it's great that they're able to take care of those things, but we should be prepared for the the scenario that's likely to happen at some point, where the right combination of factors hits that they're not able to contain it properly, and we need to have backup plans, and we need to have the ability to adjust to that. um and that's what we're in right now. We're in that adjustment period, and
Yeah.
we'll see how long this goes on for, because we really don't know at this point. um the thing that I'm worried about and concerned about is, you know opening things back up too soon and getting a really bad, um very rapid spread of things because we didn't properly contain it. We try to open things back up, and then people are out interacting with each other thinking that everything's okay, and then a whole bunch of people get sick, and we get a second wave of this.
Oh.
And then we have to go. Then it's like, well, that first quarantine we did no good. We now have to all self isolate again and restart the clock on that. with
Yeah, that
a
would be
healthcare system
awful.
that would then be overloaded. Yeah. So
Golly, I can't imagine. I can't imagine just like right now, just going out in public at a. I can't imagine going to a social gathering right now because it's been, I feel like, so long for me. It's been. I mean, I know. I like at the beginning of the podcast, I joked about like living in quarantine for the last 5 years, but like I do miss like going out to a restaurant to eat with my friends or doing this or that or like now that I I haven't gone to like a restaurant and I don't even actually know the last time I went to a restaurant. It's been months. Like maybe around New Year's or something crazy or end of January
right.
maybe something like that, but or just I now it just seems weird to get back into the swing of life and I think that society as a whole is going to take a very long time to get back to normal just because people are not going to be used to it or are also going to be scared. I think a lot of people are going to be scared. Like, still, if someone coughs, almost like a form of PTSD or something, you see someone cough in the office, like, oh, could this be, a bad
Right.
virus or it's just one of those things. And I think it's just kind of the harsh reality personally that
Mhm.
could have an effect. And it's something I can even see myself having an effect on. Um, just I don't know, being turning into maybe a germaphobe or stuff like that.
Right.
I feel like could definitely happen.
I hope that what comes out of this is that we all come out of this with a greater sense and recognition that we're all in this together, that we're not these isolated individuals that go around and what we do has no effect on anyone else, that we are all we share the same planet, share the same country, share the same resources, that we're in this together, and we got to be a little bit more considerate, more compassionate, and have a sense of the idea that there are things where we need to take care of each other.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
rather than just being like, look, I'm taking care of my stuff, you go take care of your stuff, and just do like that. I hope that's what comes out of this, is that greater sense of community and compassion towards one another.
Absolutely, especially times like these. Of course, there's a lot of divide within America, with whether it's like policies, just politics in general, or whatever. And I think it's very important at a time now more than I would say since maybe like 9/11 or something, where it's like everyone needs to put their minds together to put all the policies, all the opinions aside and
Hmm.
focus on this one goal that affects everybody. No one's safe from it.
Yeah.
And to try
Well,
and
the other
fix
thing
it.
is that, like, for everyone who thinks, oh, I'm in my 20s or 30s, I'm in great health. If I get it, I'm just going to have a mild case. It's like, okay, that might be fine for you. But everyone knows someone and has someone that they care about that is in that at-risk group, that would be much more likely to have a very severe case or to uh, die from it. So if it's not about just taking care of yourself, it's about making sure that you don't pass it to someone who would be have a much worse case than you. And the other thing is that we still know very little about this and who it affects, because there have been people who were healthy and in their 20s and 30s and stuff like that who have died from this. So just because you don't consider yourself in that at-risk group doesn't mean that you're just going to be fine if you get it.
Hmm. No, absolutely. Everyone needs to be cautious of it no matter what. I think people um who don't care if they get it or are like you were saying, younger people who know that the threat of them actually having a severe case is extremely low. I think if they don't really worry as much, I think it's just severely irresponsible and quite honestly very selfish.
Mhm.
Because what you said is just absolutely right. For me, I'm not scared of I'm not scared of me getting it. I'm scared of me getting it and then giving it to my parents, giving it
Right.
to someone who is older. Therefore, because of that, I don't want to get it. That's my
Absolutely.
logic. So that's
Yeah.
just I think how everyone's logic should be is to not panic, but to what's the word? I don't know. It's like we shouldn't panic about this, but we need to be I don't know
Uh, be effective in our response.
effective.
Be
Yep.
be be clear. Be clear-minded
Yes. Yep.
in what we're doing. Which I should emphasize in this because I know that like YouTube and stuff like that, they've been cracking around on getting misinformation. Don't anyone listen to this? Don't take your advice on what to do with this from a couple of knuckleheads like me and Jack who don't know
Yep.
anything
That's
about what
true.
we're actually talking about.
That's true.
Seek out advice from actual medical professionals and scientists who devote their lives
Yes.
and careers to studying this, and then make you get as much information. We're talking about things that we know only because of what we've read and listened to.
Uh huh.
It you know it may not all be 100% accurate, so get the best information and the most up-to-date information on what you should be doing from the people who study this for a living,
Yeah.
and take their advice on it rather than taking advice from,
Two guys who just race in iRacing.
entertainers, right?
Yeah,
Entertainers on
who
Twitch
race
who
virtually.
it's not our area of
Most
expertise.
definitely not. Get find credible sources like on the CDC website. Look at actual
Hmm.
scientists who know what they're doing, and then from there form your own opinion on the subject. And we're just giving our own opinion, but don't make your opinion based off of our opinions. I
Right.
100% agree with that. That's a good disclaimer. Absolutely. Um, absolutely. Um, you were mentioning earlier that because you did take a little break from Twitch. Was it beginning of this year or was that
Yeah, it's
last year?
beginning. I think it was beginning of February because I did some racing in January, and then yeah, I took a break. Didn't run the iRacing Daytona 500. Um, it might have been January, February, and stuff like that. And then I started coming back a little bit in March, just in time to run the replacements 100 with Dale Jr. and those guys, which was a blast. That was a really
Oh
cool
yeah,
part
that's
of that.
awesome. That's awesome.
Um, and have been getting back into the swing of it now, just because if nothing else, there's not a lot else to do, so I may as well do this. It seems to be, the folks that watch my channel seem to enjoy it, so it's given them uh, something fun to watch and enjoy when we're all trying to stay at home and self isolate and stuff like that. And then also it gives me something to do and gives me some social interaction, things like that. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Was it just like you? Because this is something that I don't know if I'm scared of, but kind of like burnout, if that makes sense. Like
it was
the
definitely burnout.
yeah.
Yeah, so I just hit a point where I kind of had a realization. I had a rough string of races but I just started not feeling like I was having fun with it. So I think that that was definitely burnout. Where I'd get done spending a couple hours of my life doing this thing, and then I would be in a really bad mood afterwards. And after that kept happening, I I just was like, I got to step away from this and do something else. So I started doing some working on my drawing and stuff like that, playing a little piano, which I need to get back to doing both of those things more because I do enjoy drawing and I do enjoy learning the piano. I'm terrible at it, but um, just freeing up time to do some other things was sort of my thought process. Doing this as much as we do it. Even if you're syncing, even if you only stream like 4 days a week, that's 8 to 10 hours out of your life that you're devoting to it just for on stream time. And then, to do it well, you got to devote time for practice and stuff like that. And when you're working a full time job, and, and doing that, that doesn't leave a lot of time for socialization or for anything, hanging out with friends and stuff like that, or anything else that you might be wanting to do. So
Yeah.
it was just a matter of trying to reassess and refocus priorities to have space in my life for some other things.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm back with it, but I'm back with a bit of a different approach where I really am more approaching this as a hobby that's fun,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to let it run my life, and I'm not going to make my life schedule my life around this in the same way that I've been doing before.
No, definitely. And I mean, you really did. I know you put in a lot of work with the stream because you uploaded so many YouTube videos. I think you had almost every race you did, right? You
Every,
upload.
everyone, there are a couple that are missing from that archive, but yeah, it's basic. Yeah, basically, yeah, when I'm streaming, I do a separate recording of the race and then upload those and have them scheduled to go live after the affiliate exclusivity expires
Oh
with
yeah, the
Twitch.
24-hour thing, right?
Right. So I just
Jeez.
upload them and schedule them right then so that they can hit YouTube and be up there for anyone who missed the stream.
Yeah, that I don't know how you did that. Do you still do that now? Like with
Yep.
your still do that part? See, that to me is just I can't not find the discipline to upload to YouTube. I can't find the discipline to do that, and I don't know what it is. I tried. It's just maybe I need to get into the rhythm or something. Or
Yeah, I just do it right after I finish streaming. I've got my videos right there in a specific folder. So I
huh.
just click upload to YouTube, do each one of those, they start uploading. And then as far as what goes on the videos, most like all my links and stuff like that are automatically on the video because you
Mm.
can preset those in YouTube. And then I think up a fun title for it. I take the cover shot as I'm wrapping up the video, so those are already there. I just need to shrink it down to the size requirement for YouTube. And then I also put the session information and the results table. So anyone who was in the race that wants to go back and look, oh, hey, what was that race that I was in with John 2 weeks ago or whatever, they can go back and look up and find it. So that having all of that in the description makes it searchable.
Yeah.
So, if you either remember that you were in it, or if you remember the exact session, if you're like looking at iRacing and how each session has a unique ID, if
Hmm.
you put that into YouTube, you should be able to find the specific video that corresponds to that race by searching by session ID. So I put that information in the description.
That's cool. Yeah,
It doesn't
I
take
think
much
it's
time.
cool.
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it tends to take 10 to 15 minutes after I wrap up streaming, which usually what I do is I'll always raid someone else's channel when I wrap up my stream. And
Hmm.
then, I can be hanging out in their stream for a little bit while I'm uploading the
Uploading
videos
it.
before I shut everything down.
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to get into. I was talking to Eric, Metal Addict. I don't know if you know Eric Hag, but he's just another streamer as well. But he's telling me that I need to start uploading on YouTube, or I should start uploading on YouTube. And it's just I want to. I just need to get into the discipline to get those videos out there because it's a
Hmm.
great way also to grow. The stream is through that
Yeah, I've
link as
gotten a
well
huge amount of my growth on Twitch has come from folks finding my content on
on
YouTube and
YouTube.
then eventually coming over to Twitch and stuff like that. Um, yeah, uh, that's definitely a way to use it. And the other thing that's really good that I still haven't done is creating some exclusive content specifically for YouTube to generate a following there that you can then divert to Twitch. Um, is probably is a really good way to use that platform and just kind of like um some of the stuff that I thought about doing that would probably be really good is like track preview videos, like pick a series and upload a preview, at least just a lap video or a
Hmm.
tutorial of how to drive the track the day before it goes up for the
Oh yeah, that's
track
smart.
cycle over would be one way to do it, but I just haven't develop the schedule or the discipline to sit down and do that.
Or yeah, that's smart. I know what so yeah, basically content that is yeah, because right now the content on your YouTube is content that was on stream and now is to YouTube. But if you make exclusive YouTube content that is
Then that'll
for
drive that
YouTube,
platform up, and then
then
those
move
people will
those
come over.
over to it. Just goes back and
Right.
forth and just swirls it all around and stuff, which is
Exactly.
brings in a bunch of people. Yeah, I think it's definitely a great way um to grow. And yeah, I'm glad it's nice to have you back. I remember seeing saw you were live one day, and I was it was really cool to see you back. But I'm glad that you're taking a different approach and hopefully a more healthy approach. Or if you're happier with it, of course, that's the most glad that.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. I feel like my approach to it now is it's a healthier mindset, and I'm just trying to, yeah, not put as much. I think part of it was I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to try to bump my I rating up, and focusing on that, and
Huh.
rather than so my focus wasn't on having fun with it as much. And I still wanted, I want to get good finishes. I want to, when I'm in a race, I want to compete and I want to be competitive, but at the same time is, having the proper perspective where that isn't everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that yeah, it's cool though that you were able to, I guess, be disciplined enough to stop like when you realize that it was becoming not fun anymore. Because I
Hmm.
think it's a sad reality, but I know a lot of or some streamers and YouTubers and stuff, it just becomes so much of a chore that, and I don't know like specific streamers or YouTubers. I just think in general though, around the whole platforms in general, like that they're so under pressure to continue making content. They don't like it at all. The reason they started it was to have fun. They're not anymore. And it becomes very depressing and very very hard for them to just keep doing that stuff. So it's cool that you were able to understand it, that you weren't enjoying it, and just to put yourself first. Like that's the most
Right.
important thing. So yeah, it's good to of course have you back. Of course with a different approach, and I think overall the approach should be, viewers want to see you having fun. So it's like
Hmm.
I think that if anything, it's gonna help your stream. To know that the viewers know that you're really enjoying yourself and bring in hopefully more people and whatnot. But yeah, that's very cool. I guess there was one last topic before we get into the questions that I wanted to go over, which was kind of back to racing, real life racing. I don't know if you've been to any races IRL,
Hmm.
or just maybe go over some maybe stories that you've had with
Sure thing.
IRL racing, stuff like that.
So the first NASCAR, so when I was a kid growing up, I always would go to a NASCAR race. That was a big thing, but there was no track in St. Louis.
Hmm.
And when we got Gateway, we were actually, there were rumblings that we were trying to get the NASCAR date that Texas ended up getting. And so we ended up losing that bidding war, or whatever the case. We lost that to the track that was built in Texas. So we ended up getting Gateway, and we got, you know, Bush Series and Truck Series, and I never ended up going to one of those. Just stuff didn't end up working out with that, and going to NASCAR races was expensive.
Hmm.
Um, so first NASCAR race I went to was in '05. It was when I was in college. It was at Fontana, and it actually ended up being Kyle Busch's first win.
Really?
So yeah, my dad flew out and we went to the race together. It was Rusty's final, Rusty Wallace, this guy,
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite driver growing up because he was from St. Louis. It was his final season. So we got pit passes. We got to go to this thing that was a gathering where he came out and spoke to the fans, made an appearance, spoke to the fans a little bit. Um, got to walk around and see the stuff in the garage area in the pit lane. Got to walk out on the track, and just, yeah, I had a great time watching that race. So I've been back to Fontana to Auto Club Speedway to see a couple races there. Saw a race at Vegas one time, and then been to a couple races, playoff race at Kansas a couple times. Saw the one where Logano spun Kenseth right at the end that ended up leading to the thing that you've probably seen on YouTube where Kenseth came back and took out Logano at Martins.
Oh yes, yes,
Yep.
yep. I've seen
Yeah,
that.
so
That's cool.
I saw the precursor to that live,
Yeah, yeah. That's
which was yeah,
cool.
we
What
watched
are
Kenseth dominating that race all day, and then yeah, that last run, we had seen that, there were some times where Kansas seemed to have a better long run car,
Huh.
but on the short run, there would be some, the Penske guys in particular were a little bit quicker than him. So we're watching Logano come, the where that caution came out. We're like, this is going to be a short run. This will be a little bit interesting. And sure enough, Kenseth jumped out to a little bit of the lead on the restart, and then we're seeing Logano run him down. We're like, this is getting interesting. And then going into one, he turned him. It's like, what?
Oh,
We're all going
yo.
nuts. Oh, he just turned him.
Oh
It's
man,
great.
that's the
But
beauty of
we had
NASCAR.
also been watching that Kenseth is throwing some pretty extreme blocks, so he kind of felt like the bumper was
It was like
potentially
kind
coming.
of, yeah, yeah. It's
But you
asking
watch
for it.
that, and everyone makes it. Oh man, yeah, he's going to give him the bumper. 9 times out of 10, they don't,
Yeah, exactly.
because we can at least relate to that as sim racers. It's like you don't want to give the bumper to someone else and then make an enemy and everyone has a
it's
bad time. That's
yeah.
not what like
It's
you
not
don't
good.
want to race. Most of us don't want to race that way, all right? At least
Huh.
I think not. I don't.
Yeah.
Um so when it does happen, it's crazy.
Hmm.
Uh but yeah, so getting to see that was nuts. And then as far as racing, real racing goes, I have done some what's known as autocross, so SCCA solo, which is like they take a parking lot and they map out a course with traffic cones basically,
Oh yeah.
and you're always in second gear in those. You never get out of second gear, so you get up to like max speed of like 60 miles per hour on those courses. But they're pretty fun because they're very technical. So I did that in my old Subaru, which was
Oh,
an
that's
'02
cool.
Impreza Outback Sport. So I don't know where they are, but there are some pictures there was a guy there that would take pictures. So there were some pictures that he got of me in my car with the left rear tire lifted up off the
Oh my
ground
gosh,
that were
that's
pretty cool.
awesome.
So that was fun. And then I rented a seat for a couple of races. As you get involved with it, you start to know folks and stuff like that. So I found someone who would let me, basically for the cost of paying his entry fee for the weekend and a little bit for like his cost for like fuel and stuff like that. I would get to drive in his Miata that he had. Like he had a custom fabricated splitter that he had done in his garage. The thing was all souped up. It was really fun to drive.
Oh, that's sick.
Um, so that thing was wild. So I drove that a few times, and then did a couple of chump car races where it was the same kind of deal. I went on the chump car forum, said, "Hey, I'm looking to rent a seat," and quickly realized that I kind of probably got myself in way over my head out there, but I did okay. I never junked the car or anything like that. But this was I did a 7 and 7, which is 7 hours Saturday, 7 hours Sunday, as part of a team of 4 drivers. So
Wow.
I got my stints were an hour and 40 minutes each day.
Uh-huh.
Um, in a BMW three like mid 90s, like the E86, I think it was, or something like that. Uh, at Auto Club Speedway on the interior road
Okay.
course, which you can drive in iRacing. So I actually used iRacing with the Mustang to and it wasn't exactly the same layout that we were using, but it was pretty similar using the interior road course layout at Auto Club to learn the track before I went out and actually drove the car, and that was fun. I wasn't super competitive, but it was really cool being in you're on a racetrack with other cars driving competitively. Uh, Very different from go-karts,
Hmm.
so that was
Yeah,
cool.
that's actually real car.
And then I did another one of those at Laguna Seca with a different team. This was a Mazda RX-7 where they had done an engine swap. They had put a Ford Explorer V8 engine in the front of the. All right, so like thing plowed, but it could haul down the straightaways. But it messed up the handling
Yeah,
characteristics
it
of the
just
car.
had like a massive engine just like in the
Yeah.
front there.
So we ended up having electrical issues there. I only got like 7 laps in or something like that, but I got laps in competitive racing competition at Laguna Seca. So
That is
that was
awesome.
really cool. I got to go through the corkscrew live.
That yeah. Okay, so I have a few questions about that. The corkscrew.
Yeah.
So is it? I mean, explain like going through the corkscrew first time feeling. How does it? How? What's your thought going up, seeing the crest of the hill?
It's crazy. So you know, you've seen it so many times in video games and stuff like that. But yeah, like you're going up that hill, you know what's coming. So like it's a completely blind drop.
Hmm.
So you know, just especially the first time, I'm backing up way early and like try my biggest priority because that's a fast track is looking around and making sure because I know that I'm going to be lifting earlier than most people. I just was looking and trying to make sure and clearing things so that there wasn't someone right on my bumper when I lifted earlier
Yeah,
than they
and surprise
expected.
them.
Um, we actually do point buys in real life. You'll actually like point, give them a point by and
Like
like just
go, just come
go
on,
go
go,
this
go,
way, go
go.
that way. You know, like some
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it was good. You know, then I did get into where I was like, okay, I've done a lap or two. I'm comfortable with the car now. So I found this like Honda CRX that was running a similar pace to where I was, and just kind of rode behind him for a couple laps, and uh, you know, so I was able to put in a couple laps, just kind of like riding with other cars around me, and was feeling pretty comfortable, and started getting into the rhythm. And then I come out of the final corner, and this is one thing that the games do not communicate is how bumpy, like how significant those rumble strips are.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was trying to get a, you know, a little bit more of a run, and went a little bit wide coming out of the final corner, went
Hmm.
across those rumble strips, and that shook that wire loose that we were having. So the car
Oh
just
no way!
dies
Just right there, just because of the.
right past pit entrance. So I had to
Oh,
get towed all the way around the
like the
track.
worst spot, man.
Oh, it was awful. It was so bad.
It's
Yeah.
like the
So
drive
that
of
ended up,
shame.
yep.
Oh,
So that ended up knocking us out, and that was the end of my run at Laguna Seca. I don't know if I would ever do it again. I might at some point because it was a lot of fun, but it's really expensive. I probably spent more on those 2 weekends than I've ever spent, like, in total iRacing. All my equipment, custom PC, all the content, the subscriptions, everything that I've ever spent in, like, 4 years of iRacing probably is still not as much as I spent on just 2
weeks.
races in the, like, the least expensive form of racing that you can do.
That is
Um,
unbelievable.
the other thing is that, you know, you do recognize as you're like, these things are built with they've got good safety rules. You have to have a roll cage, you have to have a fire extinguisher and stuff like that, all that. But you're out there in a real car, and you know, you're going around these road courses and stuff like that. And the ovals are one thing because, you know, the ovals, they've got safer barriers and stuff like that. And these guys are in, you know, these cars that are designed from the ground up to take impacts and crumple and stuff like that. And you know, they also have a team budget where, you know, if you end up binning the car, you've got a contract, so it's a little bit, you obviously you never want to wreck the race car, but the guys that we watch doing this all the time, they have different goals and there are different things.
Hmm.
When you're out there, when you sign up for one of those deals like I did, you sign a contract that says anything that happens while you're in the car, whether it's your fault or not, you cover 100% of those costs.
Oh my gosh.
So if someone else had wrecked me, I would have had to pay for the cost to
Just like
repair or
4X's
replace
on
their race car.
iRacing.
Yeah,
Oh.
any little thing I would have had to pay for. So that's playing on your mind the whole time. And the other thing is, you're going fast enough that and I've got my iRacing, and I've got more experience now than I did that back then. Looking back, that was nuts and really irresponsible because I did not have the same car control, and I would be afraid to do it now because you think about how many times on iRacing you're out there, pushing the limits of testing something, or even just trying to drive around on the track, and you
Just
clip the
bin
grass and
it.
you go off and you bin it
Yeah.
completely and bin it into someone else and whatnot. Because I had I had one spin in the BMW when I got out cold, and I had a spin where I actually was still getting familiar with the RX-7 because you don't get practice time. There is no like, hey, the track's open for practice and folks go out and do. No, you're thrown into the race without a lap
You
other
just
than whatever you've
thrown in
done
the
in high
deep end
race.
instantly.
So I'm getting familiar with the car, and our tack wasn't working, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I end up stabbing at the brake pedal like it was the clutch and spun out, you know. But fortunately, I just did a lazy spin into the grass, looked around, found the corner worker, saw that it was clear, and was able to safely re-enter.
Oh my
But
word.
it's
What an
like,
experience.
oh my gosh, that was so terrifying.
That is crazy. Not having any, not allowing any practice before the race. You just kind of get out there and just race. I mean,
Hmm.
that just is like,
Yeah, and there
what
were
in the world?
bunch of guys out there with varying degrees of experience and stuff like that. So it's the kind of thing where if something went wrong, you could absolutely get hurt. You're definitely going fast enough to hurt yourself in one of those things if you
Ugh,
go off at the wrong point or if the car breaks or something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah. Well, I had no idea. Like, I had literally no idea that you had IRL racing experience. Did not know that.
Just a little bit, very very
I,
little bit.
yeah, and like it's road racing because when I think of you, I think of obviously like oval stream or oval racing. I know primarily your
Right.
interests are in oval, but like it's cool that you were able to race at Laguna Seca.
That was
Like
fun.
that's I mean that's a big deal. That is a famous track. Like the
Yeah.
corkscrew is one of the most famous corners in the world.
Hmm.
Like do you just get does it feel like a roller coaster going down it?
It does.
The
It
butterflies
definitely
and
does.
stuff and your
Great.
stomach goes up into your chest and all that.
Honestly, I don't remember getting the butterflies so much, and I probably wasn't going as like, mainly because you prepare yourself for the
Yeah,
drop so
that
you
makes
know that it's
sense.
coming. And so that's the thing is like in a roller coaster, and this is where I've always been with roller coasters, is that roller coasters, I love the speed, but like I'm not actually holding the wheel.
Yeah,
So
you're
you
not in
think about,
control.
what is the difference between being in a passenger seat or the driver's seat. It's way scarier when you're in the driver's seat. If I've got the wheel in my hand and my feet are on the pedals, I'm bracing myself and setting myself up for everything that's going to happen. So I
Yeah,
didn't get a huge butterfly sensation when going through the corkscrew, but you definitely notice the drop and stuff like that. But it's just that you're connected with the car, so you're kind of going on the ride with the
that makes
car.
sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, whenever you're the one in control, it's a lot easier because you kind of
Hmm.
get it. I think tuned to like yourself. That's why I've never been a fan of roller coasters. Just I don't know. I don't like the sensation and just the uncontrollability. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Just one of those things. But all right. So I think what we're gonna do is we have quite a few questions that a lot of people from the community have asked that we're gonna go over for the last
Sure thing.
maybe
I'll
20,
go ahead and pull up
30
the
minutes.
channel chat now too. I haven't been looking at it while we've just been chatting, but I'll
Yeah,
pull
no
it up now.
worries. Okay,
See who's watching.
okay, so let's see. So first question is from Enchanted Outlaw. Asks on a scale of 1 to 10, he says on a scale of 1 to 10, how slow is Jack? Gotta ask that real question though. What's your Oh, okay. That was a meme question. Never mind. So he has a real
That's a
question after
meme
that.
question.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
says, gotta ask the real question. What is your favorite iRacing memory?
So we talked about at the beginning, the whole pit limiter thing
And
and
light
flashing
flashing.
lights at the 24. That's definitely up there. I don't know if there's So the other things would be the other ones that would be in contention for that would be getting my first league win race at Charlotte last fall with my buddy Mike, who I remember talking about when I was first starting streaming. It was a buddy of mine from back before I had a Twitch channel. He would be the only one in there watching. So having him spouting for me and being a part of getting that win with him
Hmm.
was really cool. Um, the first NIS win at Auto Club would be one. Um, the third place that I got in the top split Coke 600 a couple years back is still one of my best memories because that was in like the number 30 car. So getting
Yeah,
third
it's like
at
underdog
number
kind of.
30, that was huge.
That's
And
sick.
yeah, just the Coke 600 is still my favorite race on the iRacing calendar just because it is such
Gosh,
a uh, gauntlet, and it's such a like
grueling.
marathon thing to run through that.
I'm intimidated. That's the
Um,
one race in iRacing I'm still intimidated to run. It's like 24-hour
I
races,
love it
been there, done that, but the Coca-Cola 600 is just I don't know
because
if I can
you're
do that like physically.
that's probably longer than what you do what the longer and what anyone does for a single stint in
Yeah,
most endurance races. So
surely.
it is a long time in the car at one time, but that's why I love it is that you get the length of the race to play out. And that's what I hate most about this new package
Mm.
is that it's kind of ruined the racing at that track, which is my favorite event on the calendar. So
Oh
it, it
yeah, I see
it's
what you
not as
mean.
much fun now as it used to be.
With the lower
Same
downforce.
with Darlington. Like Darlington's not nearly as much fun in the A car as it used to be with the higher, uh, as it was with the higher horsepower and stuff like that. It's just not. It doesn't have the same challenge to drive. Like you go back and watch the video of that one in the older A car where they had more horsepower and the lower downforce. And it's like you've got a significant amount of off throttle time, and there's a lot that you're doing manipulating the throttle through the corners. Whereas now it's like full throttle, little blip, and you're back on at full throttle again. It's just not the same at all.
Mm.
And it also in under that older rule set, you would get a lot more separation because that was just how it worked. You couldn't run in a pack the way that you can in this one because everyone's basically full throttle. The field doesn't separate, so you get a lot more wrecks that take out a huge part of the field earlier in the race than you did before, which kind of doesn't make it as fun either.
Yeah.
My memory was of running Coke 600s before was that it was this marathon where we all got spaced out. There'd be single car spins here and there, but for the most part, folks would get through it, and then everyone was kind of like doing virtual high fives over the microphone when we made it all through to the end. And
Yeah.
it
It's
doesn't have that same feel
yeah,
that it
I see what I see.
yep.
What I definitely can see that for sure. Um that was a good
Um,
question though. So favorite memories probably
definitely.
just the Coca-Cola 600 and then the pit
Yeah.
limiter
a-
light flashing and the first
And then the wins.
yeah,
The wins
wins.
always stick with you.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, wins will always stick with you. Absolutely. A great question for sure. Another person asked, "Do you wear PJ pants while you stream because viewers can't see under your shirt or like below your shirt?"
No, they can't. They get so rarely. Um, this this play seat is so old and falling apart. Like it's literally like there are pieces of it that are just
Oh my
coming off of
gosh.
these poles. So I don't really like wearing something so thin as PJ pants when I'm in this thing. Every once in a while, I'll wear them, but usually not on stream. Usually I'm more of a blue jeans guy.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, see, for me, I wear jeans or I mean jeans. I wear pajamas. Well, especially now during this quarantine. I mean, I've been like literally living in pajamas for the last 2 weeks, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me. I'm comfy, so
Mm-mm.
that's all that matters. Amsteriga asks a question. I don't know. You probably know Amsteriga. Do
Oh
you,
yeah, man.
Kaylin? Yep.
Kalen. Kalen's a
Kalen
good dude.
Martin. Yeah,
He was actually on back when I did my podcast for a handful of episodes.
that's right.
Um,
I
he was
remember.
on that one. He was
Yeah,
one of my guests on that. It was I was doing it as a get to know a viewer thing, so it was all viewers.
that's
But yeah,
awesome. Is
I might
that
spin
on
back.
your YouTube? Those
Yes, it is.
episodes? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to link me in Discord once
To
we
Kalen's.
wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
send you Kalen's one. Yeah.
yeah, just that in general. I'd love to take a look at some of those. Definitely. But anyways, he asks, with Rusty Wallace being your NASCAR hero, would you like to have Rusty as a nickname like we do, aka me and Kalen do on our team? Because we do have a teammate that we call Rusty. Um,
Nice.
but would you want your
Uh,
nickname to ever be Rusty, just like your
I
hero?
don't know. I don't know about that. Like that's the different thing because that's his name. I've always thought that like that's really cool. But like for me, if I would always want to build my own thing rather than like just following someone else's deal.
Yeah, definitely. No, I that's a definitely a question there, Kalen.
But I do run the number 27, which has a dual meaning because that was Rusty's number when I first became a fan of his.
Uh huh.
Um, and the number that he was running when he won the championship in '89, and also, for my political work and stuff like that, 27 was the average donation for Bernie's campaign in 2016. So that kind of ended up. So I just felt like it was kind of fate that those two numbers that were
Everything
significant to me for completely different reasons
just
came
came
together. So
together. The
that's why I always
27's
run the 27.
27. I like the number 27. Is that a number? Can 27 be divisible by anything, or is it a?
27 is 3 times 9, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yep, 3 times 9. Yes, I'm terrible with math, but um, okay. Let's see.
Or 3 cubed. It is
Three
3 cubed. So
cubed.
it's the cube of 3.
Yes, yeah. 3 times 3 times, or yeah.
Yeah.
3 times 3 times 3. Yep. Okay. Bobbert asks another question. As an oval driver, do you feel oval gets prioritized over road racing on iRacing?
No.
No.
Not at all. Actually, the oval guys always complain about road racing getting the priority over oval,
Hmm.
particularly when it came to the new tire model. That was the big complaint in the oval community was that they just gave oval their road tire and they didn't build a tire model for oval because
Yeah.
all the iRacing guys care about is road racing.
Yeah.
So I am of the mindset of iRacing seems to care about both of those disciplines
Hmm.
pretty well. That and you know, I definitely don't think that they care more about oval than road. I do what I do see is that in America that there are some unique things that set up stuff where like their biggest it seems like their biggest moneymaker in terms of promoting iRacing has been centered around the NASCAR content because they're based in America and NASCAR because they're more those cars are built more to spec and it's more of a spec racing series. You can have that accurately represented in iRacing without having to go to each individual team and get access to them, which is why you don't see the same thing in Formula One.
Hmm.
Where in Formula One, the reason why iRacing ends up really lagging behind on that and really lagging behind on some of the stuff is that so much of what's being developed for those road racing series is proprietary content. So there's a huge barrier for iRacing to get in there and scan into the game and accurately represent something that the teams are trying to keep secret from one another. Whereas with NASCAR, and IndyCar, that really isn't the case. You can have an accurate representation of the NASCAR vehicles and of the IndyCar vehicles, what what's being driven right now versus what was driven years ago. So I think that iRacing has put a lot of emphasis into from an esports perspective that their top series is that just because they're able to draw a strict one-to-one comparison between that. Um, and again, also because they're based in America, it was much easier for them to get access to and scan all of the NASCAR tracks earlier.
Hmm.
But I don't really think that they play favorites. I think that both the road and the oval side get a lot of love, from a user's perspective and from a community perspective. Participation between the two seems to be comparable. I think road gets more participation overall, but they've got more series.
Yeah.
Uh, but new tire model ended up on road first over oval, and the new damage model ended up on road first, and was there for before oval got it. So, um,
That's true.
but I can also see that there are some things where roads like, hey, we haven't gotten an update on the F1 car in years, and the NASCAR guys are always getting updates on their cars, and they've got all their tracks, and we're still waiting for them to put some of our tracks in.
Hmm.
Um, so I get that, but I also understand that there are, a lot of the reasons behind that are logistics and have nothing to do with, it's not iRacing playing favorites with one side or the other. It's just logistical
Logistical.
realities
Yeah.
of having to actually get the laser equipment out and scan it, and different what proprietary things, and different teams and manufacturers holding on to their trade secrets.
Hmm. Definitely. I agree. All right. I mean, I'll be honest. The question going into this, I would have leaned more towards that they favor road as well. But after hearing your opinion, I think I actually would have to change my mind and say that I think it's more of a case of like the grass is greener on the other side sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that
Thinking.
everyone's going to be hyper aware of the deficiencies that they recognize that are affecting them directly, and have
Mm,
not as much insight. So I have a lot of insight into the stuff that the oval side's complaining about. I don't
mm,
have a lot of insight into the stuff that the road side's complaining about, where they're looking over at the oval side and like they're getting that and we're not. So it's like
yeah.
I can speculate on what that might be, but I'm not actually in the forums and seeing what it
Yeah,
is.
no, I think it's yeah. I think that both, are even. I think that you're right. Like the tire model was first on road, the damage model was first on road. Um I think the thing that a really big point you brought up was the biggest argument I would have had against oval getting a little bit maybe more love than the roadside was that the cars are constantly updated, like, or updated pretty soon to match the real world thing. But
Hmm.
you're right in the fact that they're spec cars, so it's like the
Yeah.
competition doesn't care to give them up because everyone has the same thing.
Exactly. There is no proprietary barrier to, getting the Camaro scanned in, to iRacing versus the Mustang versus the Toyota.
Hmm.
That they're all NASCAR cars. Everyone's got the same thing. And that's the other thing, is that it makes it a lot easier to update them too,
Hmm.
because the updates are following a uh, relatively consistent specification and things like that. So they're whereas update. So put it another way, updating the NASCAR car from the Chevy SS to the ZL1 is literally just you know changing out the model, and maybe there are a couple things that are different, but you're taking they're very like things. Whereas when when we update if we were to put in the new Mercedes that they were planning on doing for the 2020 season,
Hmm.
how are they going to simulate that telescoping steering wheel thing that they have?
Oh yeah. How would
Like
they?
uh, with all of the road series, you have all of these new controls. So when they put in the hybrid cars for the LMP and stuff like that, it wasn't just a matter of putting in the new Audi or the new Porsche. They also had to find a way to put in controls so that the players, so that the drivers could have control over, the engine management system and being able to use, because they've got
Use the
KERS and stuff on
boost.
those cars, don't they?
Yeah,
Right?
the
So they've got
hybrid
to
boost.
add that. So it's more than just swapping out a car and you go out and drive it like you did the other car. There's actually new things that make this car more complicated to drive and more complicated to integrate into the game.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
No, that's
and
a
that's
good
just
point.
because they're pushing the boundaries of technology on the road side and road racing in the ways that they aren't with oval racing right now. Oval racing's become much more spec.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, good points. Um I think that my conclusion to that is pretty much that the grass is greener on the other side, and just that it's that's how I view it, at least. So all right. We're gonna get into, let's see here. Got trying to find some more questions for us. Alrighty.
A little bit of water went down the wrong pipe
Are you
right there.
sure? Is that water or vodka? Now I was
That's
talking.
water.
We were joking
That's
about
definitely
I was joking with John actually a little bit before, because that bottle looks like it's like a vodka bottle or something. It might have
It's
vodka in
actually
that thing.
it's actually an Ouzo 12 bottle.
Look at that.
Because
Looks
on my dad's
fancy.
side, I'm Greek, so Ouzo is a Greek thing. So honestly, like, so I get a lot of questions about this or comments from people are like, dude, it looks like you're shooting vodka straight or something like that. It's water. Jack, you know this. You're sitting in the chair, you're talking all the time. Your mouth's gonna dry out. You need to
Yep.
you need to have some water to drink.
Mm.
So but when you're racing, you stop, for you can grab a drink under caution, or you go to a pit stop, you've got 14 seconds to grab a drink and stuff like that. So I need something that is big and heavy that I can grab really easily with my gloves, take a quick drink without spill. If it was a cup like
Like,
what you're drinking out of, how many times have you spilled that on yourself? Be honest.
I've quite a few, just because I'll like
Yeah,
bring it up to my face too quick and then it'll like splash on my and
exactly,
get on
because
my
it's got
shirt.
that big opening. This has a very tight opening, so
It's like a
it's much
bottle.
easier to be
Yeah.
accurate with this.
Uh,
Um, and yeah, and because it's glass, it's heavier, so it's much easier to set it down without spilling it over. And I would rather, like, glass tastes better to drink out of than plastic. So
yeah,
that's why I
you
use
can
this
start
as
to
opposed
taste
to
the
like a
plastic
sports
after a
bottle
while.
or something like. Yeah, I hate the taste of plastic.
I
So
yeah.
that is why, yeah, I'd rather drink out of glass, and if I was drinking out of an actual glass, I would have probably broken 3 or 4 of them on stream at this point.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's smart.
So
I need to get
this
that.
just happens to be the best vessel to do it, and it's fun.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, I thought, yeah,
You know?
when the water we started coughing, I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's that vodka." He's like,
Right.
took too big of a swig of vodka. No, but I was
What's funny
thinking,
is that was the smallest sip that I took. It's just like sometimes when you
I know
take a
what you
small sip and
mean.
you
It's
breathe in
just,
a little bit, it goes down the wrong pipe. That's
yeah, it's
Yep.
just absolutely. No, I totally get it. I was thinking it would be cool to get one of those camelbacks, strap that bad boy to the back of my racing chair with the straw that
Oh
comes out the
no,
thing.
dude, that gets so stanky after a little while. Like that water gets. I actually had one of those. Do you realize how much of a pain it is to clean those out?
I've never even owned one. So I have no
I
idea.
I, I got one back when I was living in LA. When I got like girlfriend at the time and we got these cool bikes and stuff like that, and we were gonna be going biking, so we got camelbacks. Like we're gonna be doing it. I
Yeah.
try and then it's like you got to pull the thing out and like trying to get the whole system clean and stuff like that, and it's just plastic. It's a rubber bladder going through plastic hoses. You talk about that plastic taste in your mouth, not tasting. Everything is coming through plastic with
So is it
that.
just a bag that
It's just a it's just a bladder. It's like a yeah,
oh
that sits inside of a backpack.
well because it's also functional, of course. It's just a normal backpack, right? Like you could probably make your own
Uh,
contraption, right? Or
they've got a little bit of a yeah, you could put some other stuff in there, but remember, like if that thing's filled up with water, then you're carrying water. It's all filled up with water, so there's no room for you to put other stuff in there.
Yeah.
That's what's inside of it right there.
Is that little like bag? It looks like an IV bag or something that you'd see in a
Basically,
hospital.
yeah. And then they've got it hooked up to a hose, and you put a little thing in your mouth and to drink water.
I mean, I don't know. I've thought about it before. Get an IV
Yeah,
dripper. I needed
but
an IV.
can you imagine trying to clean that?
I mean, yeah, like the hose and stuff or the straw, that
Yeah.
would get nasty after a
You
while.
know, because so, yeah, because like even washing this thing out with soap and water, it's like you try to wash it out with soap, and then you have to keep pouring it out because like you think about washing out like your sport bottle that you take to the gym or something like that. Like it takes so long to rinse it properly to get all the soap out of there. Getting the soap out of that thing, like you realize how many times you have to flush that system with water after you washed it to get all the soap out.
I
Like
would just like I don't know. The water will
throw it
naturally
out and buy a
clean it.
new one.
Yeah, just have it get replaceable and
Yeah, just gonna buy a new one.
just buy a new one after a week. Every week, just this one's $26 instead of $35. Boy, that kind of seems expensive. I guess
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
I don't know, but
There's a lot of money to be going through every
yeah,
trip.
yeah. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to get just an IV dripper that hydrates you. Just like have an IV constantly connected to you, has your vitamins, water.
You want to have a needle in your arm while you're cycling or exercising? That sounds painful.
I mean, hey, just walk around with it. I don't know. Like once, I feel like if you taped it on really good, it won't be coming out anytime soon. You could race with it and stuff. I just wouldn't want the little cord to get tangled in my wheel or something like that.
No,
Next subject.
I'm good with this. This
Yeah,
works fine.
just keep it simple. I'm
Yeah.
happy with my glass. All right. Oh my word, there are a lot of questions, so we're gonna have to speed through these. We've been talking now for an hour 46 minutes.
That's right. I had in my mind that we were going to set the record for your longest podcast here, so
We're on pace by a long shot. Okay, so next question is, what are improvements iRacing can work on for the oval side?
Ooh, we've sort of touched on some of these, but I think that just further refining the tire model is the biggest thing that they can work on. Getting the new damage model integrated and in place,
Mm.
and the biggest thing that I want over on the oval side is to do. So they've got a couple of cool historic cars and stuff like that on the road side that are really cool. I really want them to do like a 1994 Chevy Lumina
That'd be
on
cool.
the oval side so that we could have like mid 90s NASCAR racing, and also
Oh,
like
that would be sick.
either like an 80s or a 90s NASCAR and like an 80s or a 90s Indy car. That would be so cool to have on the oval
That would
side.
be so popular too. I can imagine.
I
Like,
think it would be. I like I know that the historic stuff on the road side struggles for popularity. I think that if they put one of those in on the NASCAR side, that it would that series would thrive.
I agree.
Especially especially if they did it as a fixed setup series, or
Definitely.
like had a fixed setup option with it. Honestly, I would be totally happy like if they were to put it and just kind of replace the same time slot that the what used to be the K&N, now the National Series.
Mhm.
Like if instead of the National Series, if they had that, or if they had something that ran on the same schedule as the National, so like make National Series only for D class guys,
Mhm.
or if you still want to you really do just want to run an oval race that has no cautions, but like run something that's B class on up for that hits a similar time slot, but with historic cars. And yeah,
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be real. And I think
that's
the
what
reason
I would want it to be like an NIS except full length races doing that. Like give me 500-mile race
no
every
restrictor plates, like
no
you're just
well
hauling.
they still had restrictor plates, but yeah, like give me a 500-mile race every week and go to Charlotte and Atlanta and all the tracks and stuff like
That'd be
that.
so
The full
cool.
schedule, full length races. That's what I want.
Yeah, iRacing. I would definitely do. I would totally race those because I think the reason the road stuff isn't that popular is because those cars back then had no assists of any type, no traction control, no ABS.
Mm-hmm.
They're so unbelievably difficult to drive, these old cars. And I think that on the oval side, at least when it comes to handling, since you don't typically have like the road courses that have like the wheel spin as much and whatnot, I think it would be they'd be easier to drive and um yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
I mean, on the road side, though, I would love to see like 80s or 90s, like either the 80s or 90s supercars, the BTCC touring cars and the British
That'd be
touring cars and
cool.
stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Those would be really cool to see on the roadside because that's always kind of like what I've liked. It's really cool to see, and retro F1 car would be awesome to see. So it's really and is awesome that they've got a couple of those. But like for one thing, that's what I've always liked. I like a stick shift, steering wheel, pedals, and that's it. I don't want my driving control to be any more complicated than that, so that it gives me a whole. I want actual driving ability to
Yeah.
be the thing, not button pressing and stuff like that. I want it to be driving
Yep.
that is what's differentiating me from the other people out there.
Mhm.
And I also want a car that isn't doing so much. It's like we have gotten so advanced at this point with being able to maximize aero grip and mechanical grip and all of that stuff to like really dig these cars in so that they're really rooted into the track. I just think that it's more fun if the cars are less perfect and therefore so that they do slide around a little bit and they do get out of control and the drivers have to really get up on the wheel and manhandle and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I think that's what's fun about racing for
Mhm.
me.
It was
See, Amster Eager mentioned the old Toga games. Those were awesome. I
Toga
played
games.
those back in the day. Yeah.
I think you would really. I don't know. Have you ever driven the Porsche Cup car in iRacing?
Ah, no, I don't think I've driven the Porsche Cup
I
car.
think you should give that a shot because that
I should check
is.
that out.
It's
I don't.
probably like the most like I don't know. It's like all down to driver's skill. Like it's a hard car to drive. There's a lot of wheel
Mhm.
spin. You slide around a lot. No buttons you gotta press, and it just really feels like you're just like controlling the car. You really feel like you're. I don't
Yeah.
know. You're fully in control and stuff. It's so much fun.
The the one that I keep thinking that I would maybe want to get into is the Grand Prix Legends car, that
Oh
Lotus
gosh,
49. That
that
thing
would
looks
be.
like so much fun.
I want to buy that car, but it's just I know it never goes official, so it's just like just I would just be running it in
That's
like
the thing. Yeah, it
practices.
does go official. It goes official like Saturday mornings, so I could run that instead of the like Saturday morning NIS race, and.
Oh, I see. Yeah, like with the once a
Yeah.
week official.
Mhm.
I guess yeah, I could. I might want to buy
Yeah.
those because those are the only kind of road cars I'm missing. I think is those two, but it's something like that going. I think it'd be cool.
And the new supercars look cool.
Oh,
I might.
those are fun too.
How's participation been on those? Have they been
Um,
holding up?
so it was very popular when it came out. It kind of died off, but I think that right now, I think that you'll get some official races, but it's not. Um, I'd say you maybe get 4 or 5 officials a day.
Okay.
So it's.
Better than it used to be because the supercars used to never go official as well,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
no it, and I might be generous by saying 4 or 5, but I think it goes official for sure once a day.
that's
Um,
good.
yeah, but those cars are really really fun to drive. They're very difficult too. I think the
Hmm.
supercars are probably the hardest car to drive, or the
Yeah.
Porsche Super or Porsche Cup car. Those
Hmm.
two are without a doubt the hardest cars I've ever driven on iRacing. They're just so difficult, but a lot of fun too. Very rewarding.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Okay. Next question: how do I get good at ovals and make it feel less like a coin flip? I think meaning whether you like crash or like win or how to be consistent. Keep it
Watch
under
my
control.
stream. Watch
Okay.
my videos.
Yep. John underscore a
No,
underscore
but
Theodore on Twitch.
yeah. Um, make a commitment to not crashing. So yeah, there's always going to be the possibility that you get caught up in something. But I've talk about, and I've actually got a couple videos that talk about where I talk specifically about it, wreck avoidance and things like that. But looking further down the track so that you can start to recognize, it's like when you see guys three wide coming out of a corner, they're probably going to wreck. So start backing up your exit a little bit in anticipation, and start looking for where your exit lanes are likely to be. Um, in order, before the wreck starts happening. And then when you see someone getting sideways and you see smoke, back off immediately. Start getting on the brake, look in your mirror to make sure that you're not going to get run over, and then, slow down so that you give yourself enough time to avoid it. Because I'm assuming that that's what the coin flip is that, you're getting caught up in things that where you weren't the start of it, but it's very easy because oval wrecks, especially at the beginning of the race or on restarts, can tend to be pretty big. Um, yeah, the other one is qualify better. If you start in front, then the wreck's going to be behind you. That's the easiest way to miss a wreck, is to have it happen behind you.
Yeah.
So, just put laps in. Oval racing more than road racing is much more about trail braking and kind of rolling your car through the corner and getting it to dig off that right rear on exit. It's a lot about exit speed, whereas with road racing, it seems like you make up a lot more time really aggressively braking in a straight line to shorten your braking distance for the corners. Obviously, the corner exits still matter, but I think that the corner exit matters more in oval, whereas corner entry matters more in road than it does in oval.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, there you go, Bobbert. There's a uh question. All right. Let's see here. Rotograph, does he like bone energy? Okay, that's just a meme question. Was thinking about an energy drink for my team, Big Bone Racing.
Gotcha.
Have Bone Energy as an energy drink.
Now, when I get energy drinks, I usually get those yerba mate ones or the more
Oh,
natural
okay.
ones and stuff like that. I
Oh,
don't, I
those are
don't, I
way
don't.
better than like this crap. You mean?
Yeah, I don't get a lot of that.
I don't either, to be
I've seen I've
honest. But
seen
I've been
I've
awake
seen
for a
how
while, so
I've seen how people with that on their car drive in iRacing, and it makes me stay away from it entirely. No.
yeah. That's true. I
No.
feel like me just drinking this will turn me into a person who completely crashes. Like I don't even have to run the Red Bull paint. I just have to be drinking a Red Bull or have one in
Right.
my household, in my house, even in the fridge.
Mhm.
Um yeah, no, I'm the same way. I don't really like energy drinks. I've been up for a while today and I was like I need that to get through the day, so um all right, so let's see here. Blobbert, once again, Blobbert has a few questions. So here's another one. He said, "If is there an oval you'd like to see be added to iRacing which is not in yet? Same for road, by the way. So like road and oval
Okay.
track from each."
Right. So let me think, because they are in the process of adding what was kind of at the top of a lot of people's lists, which was North Wilkesboro. So that's coming in. Uh, Oval actually feels pretty complete. I'm trying to think of what's actually missing on the
Coca-Cola
oval
Speedway,
side, right?
that like fantasy track, the like Talladega
Oh,
style.
oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I mean, so yeah, because that's the thing, is that if for iRacing, it would have to be something like North Wilkesboro that they could even possibly still actually laser scan in. I know that there was some talk about kind of doing a similar rehab of the old Nashville grounds
Mm.
and bringing that in. That would be pretty cool. I guess I could maybe answer it a little bit differently and say that I'm super grateful that that USA International Lakeland got scanned in when it did, so that it's preserved now in iRacing, since that track is gone completely. But we have it in
Really?
iRacing, and yeah, no, that got bought by, that's condos now or something like that.
The track literally does not exist.
USA, yeah, that 3/4 of a mile track that is awesome in iRacing, that does not exist in that track is gone.
Oh,
So I would say that's something that I would like to see more, is that tracks that are at risk any tracks that are at risk of being lost that way, I would love to see iRacing come in and scan them in general before they
Hmm.
go down. Over on the road side, I would love to see Monaco. Monte
Monaco,
Carlo. I would love to
really?
see Monte Carlo in there. Like, I just love that. So, Monte Carlo for me, I remember playing the Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed, which was kind of unique in that it followed this career mode where you went through the evolution of all the different Porsche vehicles, starting with like 356 Speedsters and going on up and stuff like that. And they had several iterations of the Monaco track in there, which was that was the coolest thing to drive in that game, where the like driving the various versions of Monaco.
Hmm.
So that one, just because that is such a significant circuit, it's so prominent, such a big deal. It's the one of the trio of races on my favorite racing day of the year, which is the Indy 500, Coke 600, and the Grand Prix Monte Carlo. it that one is the most glaring omission right now on iRacing. That's such a big circuit. That's such a historic
Yeah.
track that it just seems very glaring that that one's missing. I don't know. Yeah, there isn't really anything else that stands out. So I would kind of flip that back to you and say, what are some big road courses that aren't in there right now that you'd like to see added?
Um. Well, yeah, I think Monaco would be fantastic for pretty much what you said. I think it would be really cool. I think I like to see like Red Bull Ring, Austria, like from
Hmm.
F1, the track that F1 races at in Austria. I think that's a
Yeah.
really cool, and it's kind of built on the side of the mountain. So it's like turn one, and you're instantly heading up the hill, and then over, and then zigzag back down. Or um,
Do they not have Hockenheim? I'm seeing that in
no,
chat. Oh, wow.
Hockenheim. They
I
don't
thought they
have
did.
Hockenheim. No,
Oh, man.
Hungaroring would be good. Oh yeah, Sepang from Malaysia.
Yeah, basically anything that's on the F1 schedule that they don't have yet. I would in general like to see, we talked about the reasons why there isn't um as much F1 support in terms of getting the cars updated accurately in iRacing. And also the iRacing model sort of lends it to you couldn't really have multiple different manufacturers and stuff like that in iRacing, because
Yeah,
everyone would just run the Mercedes and
that
no one
yeah,
would run the other cars.
absolutely.
So, F1 doesn't have the same BOP concept that other racing series do. Uh, but I would love to see more support and love for F1 specifically in iRacing, to be able to give that experience of, in a sim, what it's like in a real sim, what it's like to drive those.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is we were watching, of course, before we went live today, the F1
We
kind of
were
race on F1 2019, and I mean, it
That
was
game does look
entertaining.
amazing.
It does look
Oh, the graphics
amazing.
are amazing.
It is. I think it would just I would love it so much more if it was in iRacing. If they had,
Hmm.
same. I mean, just ask the F1 teams if anyone's willing to scan their car, even if it's like, I,
Ask Williams.
yeah, Williams. I mean, their car's
I'm a
so
bad
slow.
man. I'm a bad man.
Well, yeah, just have them scan Williams. Say screw it. Have them maybe the McLaren. Because Lando, of course, has such a big connection now with iRacing. I don't know. Just scan one of their cars. Doesn't matter. Have that in
Hmm.
there. I mean, the
Yeah.
regulations about to change. Like maybe that'd be sick if they could get a new regulation F1 car in a couple years, or just get
Well,
one
that's the thing, is we'll
now.
probably get this generation's F1 car
Yeah,
as soon as these regulations expire. We'll probably get the
like
Mercedes
2020
or
or
something.
something.
Yeah. Um, Honestly though, I'd like to see them just build out more historic F1 cars. I want to see like the '89 McLaren that uh Senna won
Hmm.
or one of the McLarens that Senna won his championship in. I think it was '89 that he
Hmm.
won. I'd love to see the Schumacher Ferrari in there. I'd love to see the Alonso McLaren in there and stuff like that. Like don't it'd be awesome to get the current stuff. I understand all the contractual and logistical reasons why we can't have the current stuff. So if we can't have the current stuff, give us this historic stuff. Give us like some iconic historic ones that we can drive around these circuits. It'd be
Yeah.
really cool.
No, absolutely. I think it would be really cool as well. The sound that they'll make is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah, and so what I would actually have an idea because I saw the comment that the historic stuff dies out. I think that there are some ways that they could make that work. I think that the first way to do it would be make the historic stuff fixed setup rather than open set on the official calendar so that it is more of a drop in and experience this thing rather than having to go um through all of what it takes because open set racing seems to tend to have a little bit less participation than fixed setup just because there's that higher barrier of entry of you have to get in and either get a setup from somewhere or learn a whole lot about
yeah.
building setups for that individual car. So make them fixed set and you know uh set them up so that they only go kind of set those series up so that they kind of work on the same rotation that NIS works on or something like that where you only have 4 or 5 sessions per week rather than it being just so like or maybe you would just have yeah just have a handful of sessions per week with each of those for each car. So it's like it's only going to go live at these times, but you're guaranteed that you got a better expectation that when that goes live, that you're going to have at least enough people to fill one session
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you can start building it out. And maybe you rotate them. Maybe you don't have the same car maybe you don't have all the cars available for official and stuff like that. But the cool thing with having those historic vehicles is that you at least open up the option for people to put together cool stuff and host it and things like that and host some cool events
Mm.
that would utilize those. Although one of the things that I've learned from dabbling a little bit in the league admin side and trying to run leagues where you're trying to recruit enough drivers to get participation up and stuff like that is that the the leagues that there is the greatest appetite for on iRacing are leagues that mirror as closely as possible to what's on official so that people can use the league as get can either use the official stuff to get practice for the league or use the league to get practice for the official stuff. If you're asking people to invest practice time into something that's unrelated to their official license uh, that they can't use their official license racing to practice for, it's really tough to get participation up for that. So I just think that there are some ways that they could restructure the calendar to get participation in those historic vehicles uh, that they don't currently.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I like those ideas you brought up, and it's really true what you were saying about the league stuff as well about leagues, because a lot of the leagues that I run in that are the most successful are leagues that typically follow the official schedule.
Hmm.
Like if you saw like I don't know, like a F3 or like a 3.5 car go to like Otegi or something, like they never race there.
Right.
Um, on the iRacing calendar. So yeah, I I think that's yeah, good points and stuff. Oh my goodness, there's so many questions that we have that are here. Okay, let's see. Um, okay. Oh, that question is it's a political question. If you want me to read it, we can. If not,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay. He says, Blobber asks once again. I noticed that the poster you have up's a Democratic Party member. If you're
Hmm.
Democratic, is it hard being a Democrat? And I assume he says a place that almost everyone's Republican. I think he might mean like Oval iRacing because I think a lot of people on Oval. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I get my fair share of trolls and stuff like that, but you know, it is what it is. I get some people who come at me for it, but I just try to deal with it. If someone's coming in and just being a jerk in chat, I just kind of ignore them at this point.
Hmm.
But if someone wants to engage in an actual serious discussion, then I'm happy to engage and talk about our differences of opinion and stuff like that. That is why we have a First Amendment that protects our right to free speech, is so that we can freely and openly discuss differences of opinion that we have on issues that actually matter and are of consequence.
Hmm.
Because that's where you don't have free speech. That's what gets threatened. It's not your ability to talk about how cool and funny Tiger King was. That you don't get thrown in jail for that. You get thrown in jail for criticizing the king or the emperor.
Hmm.
Um, so our ability to disagree with the people in power and with one another over things that matter is important to preserve.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's part of why I'm open about it. And yeah, there are some guys on the oval side that decide to make it an axe they want to grind. For the most part, um, at this point, most people are pretty chill with me about it, and I don't
That's
really
awesome.
get too much grief over it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Absolutely. Because yeah, freedom of speech and everyone's privileged to has the privilege to express whatever. So I'm glad you're definitely expressing that. Um, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Sim Racing Dads asks, God bless, hi all. What's up, Sim Racing Dads? Um, let's see. I know why you are so great. It's because you are a Rusty Wallace fan. I was one when I was a kid. So Rusty Wallace, another Rusty Wallace fan in the stream as well.
Yep, same thing. Yeah, dude, I was 5 when he won his championship. So yeah, grew up watching Rusty as a kid, and yeah,
Awesome.
just because he was from the St. Louis area. So St. Louis, we root for the local teams, root for the Cardinals, root for the Blues, and as a NASCAR fan, I rooted for Rusty Wallace.
Absolutely. Yeah, show support for the hometown hero. All right. Alan asks, good to see you in here, Alan, by the way. If Twitch was not a thing, what streaming platform would you consider using? YouTube, Mixer, etc.
Interesting. If there wasn't Twitch, I would probably just stream on YouTube, since that's where I put the video archive up.
Yeah, same, probably. I yeah, would do that as well. Good question, Alan. Boxer SVR Boxer asks, "What do you guys think about the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series? I have been enjoying it to a degree, but many of the drivers don't seem to take it seriously and wreck far too often."
Uh, yeah. So, um, I think there are clearly some things about sim racing that make wrecks happen more frequently. We always talk about netcode and stuff like that, and netcode's more than just having contact where there's a gap between your cars, but it's also that contact doesn't affect the vehicles that are involved in the collision in the same way that it would in real life. You'll often have very light contact that uh, that causes a wreck where it wouldn't. Uh, Clearly, there have been some instances in the Pro Invitational series and stuff like that where it does seem like they're not taking it seriously, and I don't blame them. There's no money on the line, and they're not going to end up in the hospital if they get in a bad wreck. So, you know,
Yeah,
those things have a real effect on making those guys take it seriously, and then that's what they're used to competing, and now they're sitting here competing in a video game, that then they're not going to take it as seriously. They're doing something that's fun, that's for the fans and to keep them occupied while they're super bored as well. So um they Yeah, I don't expect them to take it as seriously. I think it has been fun to watch them race and to see some different names up at the top of the scoring pylon too. It's been pretty cool, and to
And
see
it's
some of
so
the
cool.
retired drivers come back and racing with the guys that are out there. So it's, it sucks that we're in this situation, but it's kind of cool finding that silver lining as we're getting to see some things that we wouldn't have been able to see otherwise.
Absolutely. I think it's been great. I think it's just so cool to see these guys check it out and to see them have fun with it and view it as a challenge because it's like they race them in real life and to see them really getting competitive and stuff here and practicing and stuff, it just makes me feel good about doing it as well. It's like I know that
Yeah.
it's pretty close. Yeah. Awesome.
And seeing Timmy Hill get that win last
Oh,
week,
that
that
was
was
so
fun. That
cool.
was so
That
cool.
was so cool. Timmy, yeah, he's awesome. Alrighty. Yeah, great question, Boxer. Absolutely. Okay, this is from Neblul. Says, hi, Mr. Theodore. Since you seem to struggle with drinking water, what other basic tasks do you have trouble completing
Ah,
on the day-to-day basis?
oh man, getting out of bed, that's always a
I
tough
agree
one.
with that. I've
Yeah, getting
been
out of bed's
suffering from
very difficult.
insomnia lately, so it's been the opposite.
Um, let's see. Uh, what else would there be? Yeah, I don't know. I used to actually have pretty bad balance until I started doing yoga every day. So
Oh, really?
that's one area where I've improved.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, uh,
yeah, just getting out of bed and drinking water.
getting out of bed, man, drinking water is tough, and then yeah, I guess keeping remembering to keep up with chores and cleaning the house and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, like washing the
I'm bad at
dishes.
that. That's a little bit different, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. We have two more questions to go. Sim Racing Dads once again asks, "What's your favorite track and car in iRacing?"
I so right now it's between the B car and I used to I liked the old A car, but
Hmm.
right now it's between the B car and the National Series car in terms of like what I actually like driving the most. Um, Darlington Darlington and Gateway are probably my two tracks, and then after that it'd be Dover, Rockingham, and maybe Charlotte. I do like Charlotte a lot. As far as like the 1.5 milers go. I also love the old Daytona, the '07
Oh,
version of
the
Daytona,
bumpy version.
oh man, I love that thing.
I think it's
That
so
track
cool,
in the
like seeing
K&N
the.
cars is so much fun.
Yeah, it's so cool seeing the cars in front of you and the whole line, just everyone bumping up and down, and it looks like like waves or something in an ocean. Just seeing everyone.
Amstriga
Yeah.
says Sonoma or the Glen, pick one. Definitely the Glen.
Yep,
I
I
love
agree.
Watkins Glen.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah,
So yeah, so your car, B class or the nationals, you said, right?
yeah.
And then you said
Only because they ruined the A car.
yes. Before it used to
Yeah,
be the A
and it
car
wasn't iRacing that ruined the A car. It was NASCAR that ruined it, and
with
iRacing
the
had to do it to
package.
keep it up to date. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. And then last question, I think, yeah, this is gonna be the last question here. It is from Enchanted Outlaw. When did you start iRacing and get into it? You kind of covered,
I
I
kind of
guess,
covered that.
maybe year,
I can
like
go.
when yeah, you just go over it, yeah, if you wanna.
I'll just go. Yeah. So I got for as a birthday present by from my then girlfriend. She got me a thing at Irwindale um, to drive a real cars, and it was part of that racing school package. It included a 3-month subscription to iRacing, so I got it and checked it out. That was back in what 2015. So 2015 was when I got started in it. Started streaming a couple of years later, after I had gotten my own house and gotten set up with everything. So yeah, that was kind of it. I had done other sims and stuff like that. So growing up as a NASCAR fan as a kid, I had the original NASCAR Racing 2, IndyCar Racing, the Bill Elliott thing from Konami before those things did, but I only ever did that stuff really as single player stuff. I did a little bit of Forza Motorsport and some Project Gotham Racing and multiplayer stuff. And then yeah, that 2015 was really when I first got on iRacing and started doing it.
Yep. Well, listen, I'm glad you got on iRacing because of that, I was able to meet you in that Daytona 24, and
Yeah, man.
memories are made with that with
The rest is
that
history.
endurance race. The rest is history, man. And yeah, you were the first I guess like friend I made on iRacing, like content creator like friend I made on iRacing, because I only started streaming iRacing maybe 2 months before 2 or 3 months before the Daytona 24. So yeah, I obviously streamed before that, but not iRacing. So it's great,
Right.
of course, to meet you through that and whatnot. And then, of course, it's great to be able to talk with you today and hang out. Really, really appreciated it. Are there any kind of closing maybe thoughts or comments, shout outs as well? Of course, shout out like your
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, no, not a ton. Just really, really cool being on here. It's awesome having you as part of the iRacing community. Definitely shout out to Corey for sure. It's just so cool that in sim racing we don't have to be supported by big conglomerate sponsors and stuff like that, big corporate sponsorship just to do it.
Hmm.
So because of that, we get to run whatever we want to run on our cars and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's pretty cool. So it's awesome being able to use my platform to promote Corey. She's just an awesome person. Even putting political differences aside, I think we all want to be represented by people who are approaching the responsibility of being a public servant and representing the people honestly and faithfully.
Hmm.
And you know, whether we win this thing and she ends up getting elected or not, that's what she does all the time anyway. Is she cares so much about people and the community and stuff like that. So that's why I specifically try to um, use my platform to put behind her and running that on that car. She has actually been battling with some pneumonia lately, a case of pneumonia while we're dealing with this whole thing. So
Oh,
she does seem to be feeling better and stuff like that. But just hoping that she for a full speedy recovery from that.
yeah. No, hopefully, speedy recovery, especially like you said during these times. But yeah, thank you, really, John. It means a lot. Thanks for the kind words as well. It's great having you as well, part of the iRacing community and part of the Twitch community as well. It's just yeah, it's awesome. So thanks for coming out and taking some time out of your day. 2 hours 21 minutes is how long we've been live for here.
New record.
But new
Heck yeah.
record. We smashed the old one. The old one I think Graham had at 1 hour 50 minutes was the longest podcast before. So I mean we have destroyed the record now. 2 hours 21 minutes. That is a solid podcast.
There we go,
Solid
man.
podcast.
Awesome.
Yep, I appreciate it. As well, I'd like to say to everybody, if you're watching this live, want to say thank you so much. Really, really, means a lot. Thank you for all the support, the questions as well. You guys are the ones who send in the questions that we're able to answer, and because of the questions, that we got a solid hour almost. It seemed like an hour
Yeah,
just
we
out of the questions there. So
seemed like we did. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
great questions. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, I want to say thank you so much. If you're watching this on YouTube as well, thank you so much for watching. And I will be back, of course, tomorrow with more iRacing content. John, if you want to check him out, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link will be provided down below to check him out on Twitch. And from there, you can find his YouTube, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. So with that being said, thank you so much, everybody. We do appreciate it. And we will see all of you guys later. Thank you, everybody.